Thank you so much for watching us. And we're so grateful that you could be part of the successandmoneyfoundation.org. You know, we have our good friend Daren Falter on with us today, and we're going into the second section. And I was just saying, Daren, you and I have the same dad. We have the same father that taught us about success and money, but not by just talking about it. He did it. You know, if I wanted to talk to my dad, I usually had to go out in the garden to talk to him because he was so busy, or paint the fence or whatever. And, you know, my dad told me something when I was a kid. We were painting the house that was next door, and we were scraping off the old paint, and it was hot, and I was a teenager, and I wasn't having any fun whatsoever. And I said, Dad, can I get paid for doing this? And he goes, no, son, get back to work. You know, I'm one of 10 kids, you know, get back to work, you know. And he could see that wasn't quite the answer I was looking for. And so I says, Dad, are you sure? Are you sure that I can't get paid for doing this extra work? And he goes, you know, son, you know, we bought this property so that we would have some extra money to put you kids through college. Okay, well, I'm just a teenager. I didn't really care about college. And you can see that wasn't the answer I was looking for. And then he said something that changed my life that I've never forgot. You know, he says, you know what, son, some people make so much money off of their real estate, their small businesses, and their investments that they don't have a job. They just manage those. And I was like, really? Now, all of us have jobs. I still have, you know, all through my career, I've had a job, but I've also always done these side hustles. And I just want to thank my dad and Daren's dad for teaching us the things that we needed to know so that we can pass that down to the next generation, Because what's more important, money, knowledge, or experience? Well, if you just give your kid the money, he's going to go blow it. You know, he's going to go wreck the Ferrari. If you give him the knowledge, that's helpful. But if you give them the experience, even if it's not a great experience, but it's an experience, failure, there's nothing wrong with failure. You need to be failing more. If you aren't failing, you're not trying hard enough. You need to fail more. You got to give them experiences. That's why we're so hardcore on getting these investment accounts open, pulling the trigger, doing something, and progressing and going down to the next road. My friend Robert Allen said that the good parents give their kids good memories and bad parents give their kids bad memories. Well, your job on this call is to give your loved ones, your families, your friends, your other ones, a good experience and to teach them the success principles that'll change their life. Now, I'm coming back now for stage 2, for section 2, where we're going to jump hardcore into Boss Kids, and we're going to learn about some of the great things that Daren's coming up with his new book. All right, Daren, take it away.
Awesome. Well, I think back about where my children were influenced in the home, and it actually started in the car. And some of you are picking up this habit. You're picking up this habit specifically based upon maybe a mentor teaching you that you need to do this. But how many of you have turned your cars into rolling universities of knowledge and experience and tips and ideas? You need to be listening to programs taught by people who know something that you don't. It's going to help you with their wealth, investment advice, real estate advice, entrepreneurial advice. And it's interesting because I found that my kids didn't seem to be paying attention to any of the motivational, inspirational, educational, programs that I played in my car until every once in a while they give a talk in church, or they'd be talking to their friends and something would pop out that they heard from one of these audio cassettes. So I remember having fun with my kids. They would be going to what we call early morning seminary class. They'd be going to church, Bible study in the morning at 6 a.m. They get up at like 5 and they go to 6 a.m. Bible study. And in the morning, nobody wants to talk. They're all grumpy. And so I put in a little Jim Rohn. I put in a little Brian Tracy, put in Robert Allen. I might even put in a little Tom Painter. And they're listening to little Tom Painter in the morning, and they're all grumpy and stuff. And then pretty soon on the way from seminary to school, they're saying, so how is it, how do you make money, Dad? Or how tell me more about what Tom said today about what's this compound interest? What does that work? What penny a day doubled stuff? and they ask questions and we have conversations. And I remember having fun with my kids in the car when they were really little. On our way to the store, I taught them to memorize funny responses to specific business questions so that they could trick people into thinking they were like these genius financial kids, these savants, geniuses, business geniuses in little bodies. And I practiced with them, helping them each give responses to different conversational scenarios designed to impress random people. So one of them, I said, somebody asked me, Mr. Falter, I'm just starting out in business. What's your best advice for financial success? I'd be like at a business meeting, my child would be there. And I'd say, you need to get cash flow from a home business, invest in real estate. Brooklyn, what's the secret to real estate success? And without hesitation, she'd say, oh, that's easy, Dad. She's 9 years old. Find the ugliest house in the best neighborhood. And as soon as they accept a low ball offer, fix it and flip it. She'd see it every time. We'd practice this. We practice this so she could say it. And this person would go, wow, okay. The 9-year-old knows more than I do. And I said, wow, Brooklyn, that really, she knows a lot about real estate. I said, of course, they all know about real estate. Austin, what's the secret to wealth in real estate? He was like, if she was 9, he was like 5. No, he was 7. 7-year-old Austin, he looks up from his handheld video game. He says, easy, Dad. Buy 10 houses, rent them for 10 years, should net you a couple mil easy. That ain't chump change. Just like that, he'd say it. And they loved doing it so much that we practice these scenarios. And so they were able to always respond to people. But I always wanted to keep it fun and keep it interesting to make sure that they were interested in financial talk. I remember having a conversation with my daughter in the yard. We were working in the yard. Like Tom said, he goes out and talks to his dad in the yard. My daughter Brooklyn came to me when she was about 8 years old, and she said, Dad, tell me about your business and your life. I know that my kids, my friends, their dads all work during the day, and you're home all the time. And so I had a talk with her, and I said, I have these goals in my life. Some of them are financial goals, some of my business goals, and like half of my goals that I've set for myself, I've achieved. And so I have to keep setting more goals. And she was so excited about that. And so she's so interested in that. She ran back. I remember telling her mom and telling her sisters that I talked to Dad, and it was really cool because he talked to me about, his life, and that he'd already achieved half of his goals. And it was just really exciting for her. And I think it really made an impression. And that's one of the reasons that she was always the one who would always sneak in my office, and she'd sit under my desk and color and listen to my phone conversation. She wanted to hear both sides. And I put it on, when she was there for her benefit, I put it on speakerphone so she could hear the other side of the conversation. And I always knew if there's certain people I'm talking to in business, I had to keep the mute button ready because some of them had colorful language. So I had to mute it out sometimes. But that was always a big benefit to them. So, the other thing I would do is always, I'd always have business conversations with my kids and make sure that they, one of the things we did around the dinner table, I always explained to them that a lot of business, like we mentioned earlier, is about failure, being willing to fail. And it's great that we have conversation around the dinner table with the kids. What did you do today? What successes did you have? But I started having a conversation with them about, what did you fail at today? If you're not failing, you're not moving towards success. You got to fail. And so I asked each child, I said, what are you failing at today? What did you fail at today? They said, oh, well, I failed at I didn't get to, I didn't get on the soccer team, or I didn't get on the cheerleading squad, or I wasn't picked for, kickball, or I wasn't, I had a friend who who's mad at me, or there's just all these failures. I said, that's okay. It means you're invested in life. You're doing something. I remember a ski coach, when I was learning to ski, my instructor said, if you're not falling, you're not trying hard enough. If you're not failing, you're not progressing. And so instead of having the conversation with your kids about what all their successes are and being so proud of the grades that they bring home, ask them about their failure. Why are you, what did you learn from this failure? You got a D on your quiz. What did you learn from that? What can you improve on? And that's how we instruct our kids on how to be successful in life and in business. My daughters, they're just hilarious. I would go into their room all the time, and I'd poke my head in, and I'd say, "Hey, girls, would you agree this room is a little messy, out of control?" And I don't know if your kids talk to you like this, but they're all gangster. Say, yo, this how we roll, G. I said, she's lounging in her bed. She's got sunglasses on. I said, come again? Yo, Pops, we all about the thug life. And then, the room's all dim and everything. And I say, and I don't know if you guys have interactions with your kids like that. But as any proud American father would do, whenever they, challenge me with their hip hop dance and everything, I just throw a dance battle at them. And then they swear that they'll never do it again because they don't want to see me. They don't want me to embarrass them in public. But I finally decided to do the rolling university. Every time we go in the car, then I started preparing CDs for my kids that were specific for the child that I was riding with. And once we got through that, they actually started asking for those CDs in their own rooms. They started listening to them on their own when they started preparing talks and presentations. Most of them started getting involved with school, school leadership. And they used the talks, they used the presentations, they used the quotes from those presentations in their campaign speeches. I remember back in the 90s when I was starting my business, I started stealing my dad's books. Og Mandino, Zig Ziglar, Andrew Carnegie, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, Robert Allen, Tom Painter. Those were the things that I listened to. Chet Holmes. I listened to all those things, and then they started stealing those things from me, and I was happy to see them. I was happy to see when one of my books got off the bookshelf was in their room. I never reprimanded them for that. I wanted them to do that. Now, let me tell you another thing that I learned that was significant, played huge into my children deciding to be entrepreneurs. And I don't even know if they knew this. I was watching a documentary one day, and I'm not a big Snoop Dogg fan. I just don't think he's the greatest role model in the world. But this documentary was about Snoop Dogg coaching a football team. And it was entertaining, to say the least. The language was colorful and entertaining. But one of the things that Snoop Dogg taught that I agree with and I thought was very significant was he was taking these kids that day on an airplane, and he's taking them to play another team in another city. And they asked him, well, why do you go through the expense of taking the whole football team on an airplane, going to a completely different place to play? And he said, this is the best thing we can do for these kids, to get them out of their neighborhoods, get them to go on an airplane, fly somewhere and see that there's another place, see that there's another town, there's another ballpark, there's another football field. There's a different setting. There's a different backdrop. The trees are different. The mountains are different. The people are different. And it made a huge impression when I thought, that's true. When every time I've encouraged my children to travel and move out of their town, out of their state, even out of their country, it does something up here. For those of you who are Filipino and you're in your country, those people who've gone outside your country and spent some time in another country and come back, they have a different perspective than you do. If you've never done that, I'd encourage you to do that. I'd encourage you to travel, get outside your country and see what it's like. Learn another language, or work on another language, learn another culture, eat some food that's different. Take a chance, take a risk, be courageous, and see what it does to your mind. See how it expands the way you think, the way you see things. You start seeing things differently. I remember, have you ever bought a new car or like a used car? I remember buying a Toyota Celica. It was really old. It was an old used car when I was in high school. Saved up my lawn mowing money and I bought this old beater car. I liked it. I thought it was really sporty looking and it was kind of cute, but didn't run very well. But when I bought that Celica, I'd never seen one like it before. Once I bought it, I saw it everywhere. I saw that car everywhere. There's more than one. My dad bought a red truck one time growing up. I started seeing red trucks everywhere. Is it because my dad bought a truck and all of a sudden there's new red trucks everywhere? No, it's because they were always there. I just wasn't aware of it. All of these things, all of these principles in business, all these opportunities that they're waiting for you to capture, all of these investment opportunities, all these chances to take your money and double it and triple it are there right in front of your face, but you're not seeing it because you haven't exposed yourself to the information that will allow you to see it. Travel. I remember going to Costa Rica, these lush rainforests, most beautiful beaches in the world. It had active volcanoes. You look off in the distance, there's a volcano and it's spewing out like these huge boulders. They said they're the size of a Volkswagen Bug, like a car, and they bounce down the hill smoking. Like it's just like the Lord of the Rings. It's way off in the distance. I say, can I hire a guide to take me to the foothills? I want to like dodge some of those things. Zip lining through the jungle. There's iguanas, there's crocodiles, waterfalls. I mean, it was just, it blew my mind. And that trip changed my life. It really expanded my knowledge and vision and what was possible. And it gave me so much incentive to work harder in my business because I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to Costa Rica. I wanted to go back to Cancun. I wanted to go back to Japan and Malaysia and to Rome and to Paris. I want to go back to these places, experience it again because I gained so much from that. I saw people going on vacation when I was first in my business, and it really motivated me to action. And so when my children were old enough to start traveling with me, some of their first mind expanding experiences were incentive trips coming with me. And, I would win trips to different places like Hawaii or on a cruise ship. And so I'd take one of my children with me, and it was like a really special daughter-daddy-son date. And over the years, I must have been on 24 cruises because I was in a business where they incentivized you by offering you a cruise based on your performance. I've been to Mexico a dozen times, been to Hawaii a dozen times, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Guam, France, Switzerland, Spain. I've been to Rome 4 times. And sometimes I took my kids, and I could just see their minds expanding as we went through the trip. Never ruin your education or never ruin your education by not allowing your children or their education by not allowing them to skip school and be educated outside the school, by travel. Travel is one of the greatest educations you can possibly offer your kids. Show them what it's like to interact with other cultures, learn a language, eat different ethnic foods right from the people who create it. When my girls, Lauren and Kylie, were young teens, I took them on a cruise to Eastern Caribbean. They never forgot it. We went snorkeling with gigantic manta rays in Tropical Lagoon. We walked through the lobby of the Atlantis Hotel in Nassau. It's one of the biggest hotels in the world. Some of you have been there. We saw the Chihuly glass hanging from the ceiling. We saw sharks on the inside of the largest aquarium in the world. On board the ship, they made friends with other kids that were traveling with them, and they made plans for the next time we're going to go traveling with them. When my third oldest wasn't even a teenager, I took her to Hawaii. She was feeding sea turtles out of the hotel lobby. They come into the hotel lobby. She's feeding them these leaves. We bought fresh fruit from roadside fruit stands. We saw active volcanoes. And I remember taking my son, my fourth child, to Las Vegas. We had an event in Las Vegas, so I took him a little early. He just turned 8, and we went to Circus. And we went to, there's live circus acts going on in the hotel all day. There was a carnival and a amusement park inside the hotel. We went to that. We went to a daytime magic show for families. He was picked to go on stage to be a magician's assistant. It was epic. It was the most incredible daddy-son date ever. And it was all because of the success I had in my home business and having time freedom, the money, and the opportunities to take my kids with me. All of those things contributed to their choosing to go into business. They wanted to be able to travel. They wanted the freedom of schedule. They wanted the money to be able to travel. They wanted the time. They wanted the incentives. A lot of times there's incentives associated with different distributorships and different entrepreneurial ventures where they give you and you earn free trips. Sometimes your business is associated with travel, like real estate, buying vacation homes or timeshares or Airbnbs. So that's one of the greatest things that I think we ever did for our kids was taking traveling.
Daren, let's go ahead and finish up this segment and come to our last segment if we could.
Okay.
One of the things I love about Daren and what he's done, because we've had some similar lives, parallel lives in many ways. I've been to 50 countries. And that, Daren's probably, I don't know how many countries he's been to, but he's probably done more traveling than I have. We haven't done 24 cruises. We've done about half that. But take your kids. I took my 2 youngest kids around the world a couple of years ago. I took my oldest daughter. We've been this way around the world with her and that way around the world with her. And then a few years ago, I said, I'm just going to take my 2 youngest and we're going to go east and never stop. And we literally went east and never stopped until we went all the way around the world. So that's one of the things that you got to do with your businesses. Start doing it virtually. Get on YouTube, go look at places, take some virtual vacations, take some virtual places you want to see and learn about. Do that first, and then figure out how to be able to go out and see the world, because that's so important. So we're going to finish up this segment. We're going to come back, and on our next segment, we're going to get very specifically on what are the things that you teach your children. What are the specific strategies that you've taught them? If you only had 90 days to live and you've got to pass down the secrets of what it is that's going to make them successful, because something's going to happen. You're going to pass away or something else. My aunt just passed away the other day, 2 days ago. She had a stroke in the morning, and she was gone by that night. You never know when you're going to pass. You never know when you're going to check out. And we've got to get these things down to the next level, the next couple of levels. And we got to get it in, not only just the education. Don't just give them the money. The education is wonderful, but you've got to give them the experiences. That's what's so key. So we're going to come back to our third segment, and we're going to get very specific on what are the little things that you would teach your kids if you're going to pass away in 90 days or less, and you've got to get this over to the next level. And for me, I had 2 special needs children. And so I needed to figure out how to create these systems that would do that to take care of them, because I don't think the government's going to take care of my kids. Mm-hmm. And so that was my problem after I had my heart attack when I was 34. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back for our last